Did you know that these videos are entirely supported by people's donations? It's crazy but true. You could be one of those people. If you'd like to help out, keep my wheels rolling on this mission here where I'm riding about the countryside trying to remind people that we have about 22 military veterans committing suicide every day, which is a horrible thing to think about. I think that's maybe why people forget. It's just too hard to comprehend. But in the meantime, we've sent our people off into some pretty horrible places, and they come back, and sometimes they just don't fit in with the regular people anymore, so they're having a hard time. So my mission is to remind people that this is still happening, and if we can get some traction on that, maybe we could do something to actually help. But in the meantime, it's just kind of going out there and reminding people and talking to people wherever I can. So the trailer has been really wonderful for that. You know, people see that, they're like, oh, what is this all about, right? So as I'm learning my process here, one of the things I want to do is expand on, like, for instance, signage on the trailer and that kind of thing. When I first started, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do with this, but if we can keep the money coming in so I can afford to keep writing, we can start putting together some kind of a package and a program. I haven't reached out to places like VFWs yet because I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish the 22 states this year or not, and I'd like to have a little bit better understanding of what's going on before I go out and start talking to like national groups and also to sponsors. Like, you know, the dream would be if somebody like Cliff Bar would help sponsor the ride. So if you know anybody at Cliff Bar, you know, keep me in mind. Maybe we can get something going there. But where I'm at right now is I'm probably burning about 4,000 calories a day, which is more than the money I have coming in most days. So I'm always kind of skimping on something. So ideally, if I could get up into about the $500 a month range, I think this month I'm closer to $300. A couple months ago I had $700. You know, so it comes and goes. Unfortunately, you know, I had to replace the bicycle, and then the trailer broke, and you know, that kind of thing. So it kind of screwed up the numbers. So anyway, my job is to do the writing. If anybody wants to help support the mission, there's PayPal, there's Patreon. On YouTube members, you can do a YouTube membership. You can choose your level of support, or it's each video you can do the little super thanks. So down below the video where the like is, there's also a heart that lets you give me a one-time donation. So if you'd like to do that, that would help me out enormously. And if the level of support is high enough, then we can continue the ride. My goal has always been 22 states in 2022 for the 22 veterans. The start was really good, and then lately it seems like things are slowing down on the income side. So I don't know if I lost people in California or what happened, but if we don't have the support, then I just have to go home. So I don't really want to go home. So hopefully we can get things going a little bit. That's what I'm doing. I don't always talk about it in every ride or in every video, but the whole purpose for me being out here is to kind of shine the light on the problem, and maybe we can remind people. And like, for instance, there was a couple guys I talked to on the side of the road a few days ago. One of the guys has a brother who just got out of the Marine Corps, and he totally got what I was saying, you know. Or I've had other people just randomly ask what I'm doing, and you hit a nerve. You definitely tell when you make a connection. So I just want to keep making those connections with people, because a lot of people are aware of the problem, and a lot of people know people that are veterans that are getting out or have gotten out. And I think the problem is the average veteran doesn't know how to talk about how they're feeling, how they're doing. You know, we're taught to, you know, suck it up and power through. So that's what I'm doing, and appreciate your support, and thank you. On with the show.
Alright, it's a little bit before 8 o'clock. The sun has already gone down. I just look up and I see these weird clouds that look like the ink spots from that psychology test. That's got to be a dragon, but I don't know what the other ones are. I've just never seen that kind of a texture that I've noticed. I don't know, it just looks really strange. It is showing up on the camera just about as it looks, so that's kind of cool. It's just in that one spot. I mean, okay, there's one over there. Also, I don't think it's going to rain. Guess we'll see. It's just a weird thing. Anyway, odd. Just kind of chilling out. Yeah, I've been watching a YouTube video and I'm like, oh yeah, look around. Oh yeah, I'm still outside. Yeah. It's just, this is going to be so odd later in my life when I think about it. Also, these things are keeping guard for me. Got a ring of flowers right in front of me. Perfect camouflage. Alright, back to YouTube. Alright, there it is, finally. A little bit of sunshine and some blue sky. Woke up this morning, it was completely cloudy. I was a little bit concerned. Yeah, we might be okay. So, yeah, 7:15. Yesterday I had sunrise about 6 o'clock, right? So we're down in the hills. I'm at the base of what's going to be a pretty good climb. I'll figure that out in a minute. I've been kind of just taking my time getting ready. I just rolled up the sleeping bag kind of thing. So it was, I'm like, well, this is like the opposite of the early bird gets the worm or farmer's mentality, today at least. Knowing that I'm going in that direction and the sun is behind me, as I'm going up the hill, I'm going to be tilted up a little bit, so that means even in the morning I'll have pretty good sun is on the hitting the panels at a good angle, right? I've got 48 volts on the battery right now. That's not terrible. I mean, that's actually pretty good. More is better, but I don't know that that would be enough to get up to the top of the hill. So if I also had sun hitting the panel every time I slow down or something like that, I'll get a little bit of a charge. Okay. And kind of think of it like, you know, if I got 5 going out and 2 coming in, I'm eventually going to run out. But it's better than 5 going out and none coming in. Okay. Okay, so I've got about a 1,500 foot climb in the next 4 miles. So it's going to be pretty steep, but if we have enough power, we can do it. That's the trick. So if I did it last night, that was why I decided to stay down here. I'm like, okay, I have a reasonably safe place to park. I'm not sure if it would be legit if the owner was here, if they'd be real happy with me, but at least I'm safe. I'm off the road, and I had a little bit of shelter from the wind, or from the highway noise. Not so much from the wind. It wasn't too bad. We'll kind of keep pushing. And then the next thing is I'm looking, okay, today was, I think I got 6 days until the next money comes in. So I'm like, all right, I kind of pace it out. So when I get the YouTube money comes in, I'll probably get a motel then and get cleaned up again and kind of reset. So it's kind of like, well, back timing to there, you know. Yeah, it's kind of like, well, we got enough for a few days. We'll go to here, go to there, that kind of thing. And I got a whole stack of, you know, another box of the Cliff bars. Get the shiny side out. So we're set. We got to start pimping these guys just in case I ever get sponsored. It's like, look, I do talk about them a lot. And then, you know, Walmart Mountain Trail Mix. This is the best, honestly. And since we're doing this, breakfast. Oh, I got to figure out I got a whole package of the little Snickers bars, you know, at the dollar store. I haven't seen them for a few days. They're probably jammed in somewhere. I should eat them for breakfast too, because when they get hot, they get really mushy. So they're going to be all deformed and mutant Snickers bars by now. But I found in the past, if you eat the Snickers bars for breakfast, they're cold. so they're not squishy and get all over your fingers. You know, you would think that would be a good dessert before you went to bed, but they're all hot and mushy then, so that's not good. So you eat them for breakfast and then eat the Cliff Bars for supper because they don't melt as bad. Yeah. Well, this was kind of a neat bonus too. Peanut butter and then the white macadamia nuts are the two that I tend to like the best. And one of the stores had a multi-pack, like an 18-pack of, it's like you can get a 6-pack or a 12-pack of Cliff Bars that are single flavor, right? And usually the 18 or 24, depending where you're at, like Sam's Club has a 24-pack, and I think Costco had a 30-pack or something like that. Like, yay! Anyway, it had been the chocolate chip cookie and the peanut butter were the two in the big pack, right? So all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, macadamia nuts in the 18-pack, yay! You know, those are the good ones. So just when you think you know what to expect, they change it up on you, but sometimes it's good. It was like, you know, while we're talking flavors, there was a chocolate brownie flavored. I actually didn't like it as much. I don't know, it was like almost too chocolatey. I don't know if that's a thing, but personal preference. I thought that would be really good, and I was like, yeah. I decided not to buy them the next time I saw them, kind of thing. So, weird but true. Uh-oh. It's going to show up. There we go. The sun is right on the edge of that cloud, and the cloud is coming in, but the rest of the sky is clear. That's going the wrong way. Alright, that's just weird. Oh, and I did get rained on a little tiny bit last night. I remember thinking, because I was looking at those weird clouds, right? And I'm like, I've got a piece of plastic that I could pull over the sleeping bag to keep it from getting so wet. And it turned out that the plastic ends up completely underneath everything in the trailer, and I would have to unload about 3/4 of the stuff, and it's just a pain in the butt. And I remember thinking, it's like, man, I don't want to do it. And then if it does, you know, if it does rain, I'll be like scrambling trying to find it, and you know, I'm like, I just won't worry about it. And when I woke up and realized it was raining, I looked up and I saw the stars, and it was the first time I'd seen the stars all night. So I'm like, it probably isn't going to rain very much if I can see the stars. And it didn't. It just rained just a little bit and then stopped again. I'm like, that's kind of weird. You know, it had been cloudy. There was no stars at all, except for when it rained. I'm like, how does that even happen? You know, it's just weird. Anyway, I think I'll eat some breakfast, and hopefully by then it'll warm up a little bit. It's like 2 nights ago. Yeah, the last 2 nights, I didn't wear the sweats for the first time in forever to sleep in. It was warm. And then last night it was cold before the sun even went down. I mean, not freezing cold, but you definitely felt it drop off. So it was like, you know, in the 60s instead of in the 80s kind of thing. So I'm like, all right, put the sweats on. And I was thinking about my jacket. And again, that was underneath some more stuff, and I didn't want to dig it out. And it got warm, so I'm like, oh, I don't need my jacket. You know, and then it got cold again. Yeah, this next few days, we're getting up into higher elevations. We're gonna go over 3,000 feet today, and then right back down again. And then as we go closer to Shasta, I think we'll be going up to around 5,000 feet. So that's gonna be a pretty good climb. And then we'll drop down again a little bit, and then it'll be in the rollies. Trying to think. Oregon, I've driven through it so many times, but I can't, you know, you don't really notice hills as much. If I was on the coast, it would be like the coast of California. You get up and down the little rolls along the coast. I'm going to go more inland, and I think after Shasta, it's going to drop down. I don't think I'm going to go over 2,000 feet the rest of Oregon, I don't think. And then the way I'm coming into Washington, I'm kind of skipping the Cascades. There is a couple good climbs, like when we cross I think it's the Columbia. I just got a picture of that in my head. Yeah, the Columbia is the border between Washington and Oregon. That's going to be a serious climb coming up there. Yeah, that's a steep hill. Okay, don't think about that. I get a little psyched out again. Even on a cloudy day, you get a little bit. The problem is I need a lot to get up the hill. So I think we'll take our time, eat breakfast, and then pack up. And it's still only 7:30, I think, so whatever, you know. I'm getting to the point on this ride is like, unless I have a specific place that I really want to get to, especially knowing I'm going to have hills, it's like, well, you get up or you don't, you know, you stop. That's the thing, is when I got everything with me, it's like, well, you stop when you run out of daylight, wherever that ends up being, or, you know, sometimes you stop early. Yeah, and that's kind of it, is, well, if I know that I've really pulled the batteries down that day, or I'm going to need a lot for the next day, stop by 4 o'clock and get in a spot where you got good sun, and then let the batteries charge for a few hours before sundown, right? Because you're going to need it the next day anyway. So yeah, it's completely different. I'm finding it's a little bit like sailing, which I don't know a lot about sailing, but I do watch some sailing videos on YouTube, and they have a similar mentality. Is like, well, you got to wait for the favorable conditions. You know, you're not going to go against the wind if you can help it. I mean, you can tack and you go back and forth. It's just a lot of work. But if you can wind forecast, and you're like, oh, in 3 days we'll have better winds, we'll just go then. You know, why make it difficult for yourself? So it's not like, okay, I'm just going to go buy more gas and then I can just keep riding. You know, the other option though, and this is not something I'm used to thinking about. Now I do have a charger, so, but I would need somewhere to plug in, right? I've thought this would be kind of a cool option, and we're kind of in a weird, awkward place right now. Car chargers for electric cars are now pretty common, and you can drive just about anywhere and find one. You know, you might have to plan it out a little bit. It's like, okay, between here and here there is none, so make sure you hit this one before you leave, kind of thing. And it's just like, you know, when you leave town, next service is 150 miles, so you make sure to get gas. Well, if you have an electric car, on your phone you'll have an app that shows you where all the chargers are. You can even see if that charger is working or not. So if somebody says that charger isn't working, it'll just get a little red mark on it so that you don't get there and find out it's broken. You know, so they're pretty good about that. Anyway, so I was talking to some of the other solar bike guys, and we thought, wouldn't it be cool? And apparently there's a way to do it where you can make an adapter that on the one side would be the electric car charger, and this adapter would plug into that, and then it would be kind of like if you remember your old modems in the 90s or whatever, when you dialed into your internet connector, and it would go through a sequence of tones. Well, the tones were negotiating how fast they could go. Okay, so the electric car chargers do kind of the same thing. There's a serial connection that it talks back and forth when it first connects, and the car tells the charger what it's capable of taking, basically. I mean, if it's a Tesla car and a Tesla charger, that's easy because they're already made to work with each other, but everybody else is kind of a more, not, maybe kind of like a generic connector. So you're like, okay, my car can handle this many amps, and then the charger will, like, okay, it'll set it to that. So we were thinking, man, couldn't we make an adapter that would let the bicycle plug into a car charger, and then it would be about 4 minutes and it would be full, and you'd be good for the rest of the day. You know, it's, you know, the car charger can deliver so many amps, and we can handle, like my charger, I set it to 8 amps, you know, so it's pretty big difference. I don't know if this would even be practical. The other option would be just, you know, go into a gas station and see if you can find a plug-in or something like that. Libraries would be another option, because they always have plug-ins for, you know, you can bring your own laptop in. So if you brought your laptop in and you set up, and if you had your cord coming out of your backpack, well, you would just be plugging in your laptop, but you'd also be plugging in your electric bike battery. So you just take the battery off the bike, carry it in, sit down at the library,
You know, it'll take you 3 or 4 hours to fully charge your battery safely, you know, if you don't fast charge it. And get your internet done, and then you're all charged up and off you go. So that might be an option, but I'm just kind of looking at it because if I do long range traveling more than this next year, this year and next year, where are other options? Because like in some times you're not going to get enough sun to make it work. Okay, so you need kind of a backup plan. The last part of that though, what I was realizing, the other guys on the sun trip, most of them had way more panels, they had way less weight and bigger motors. Well, I had a big motor then, but I had little batteries in the big motor, so I still wasn't doing as well. But a lot of the guys, I would be looking at, you know, I'm almost dead on the batteries, and they're like, oh, we're 95% charged still, right? They just had way more solar panels than I had, bigger panels. Like the one guy, Allen, the house that we stayed at, he was running somewhere around 300 watts where I had 200 watts, and he didn't have a trailer, it was just his bike, right? So the panels were on top of the bike. Ryan had, I think, 340 watts on his recumbent trike and no trailer, so he was virtually no weight and 340, and I'm sitting at 200, right? So the next evolution will have to be one, I mean, I've got a lot of extra weight now that I would never take again, so that'll get better. If I did the one-wheel trailer again, that rolled a lot easier than this trailer does. If I did a two-wheel trailer, if I put taller tires on it, it'll roll easier. There's so many, you know, there's so much low-hanging fruit that I can make improvements on, so I'm just realizing I'm still the absolute worst case scenario. You know, I don't have enough solar and I'm dragging too much weight. So, although if I have a really sunny day and not too many hills, I'm just flying along. I'm completely happy, you know. So it's just, I just needed to get a little bit better. So, yeah. And I guess the last part of that, thinking about it, is like, well, how much money and time do I want to invest into making this a whole lot better if I only do it for one more year? You know, I'll make some improvements, but it's like, is it worth buying a lot of stuff if I don't really need it, you know, for long term? I mean, I've already got the really big motor. I've got enough batteries that I can make a mega pack. If I added one more solar panel or something, you know, maybe it would be okay. So, stuff to think about. Yeah. Anyway, eat some breakfast. Oh, look at that. The cloud's almost away from the sun again. Where is it? Time I get myself ready, I'll be in good shape. And if I leave here by 8 o'clock and the sun is higher, that's all the better. So, once again, being lazy pays off. All right, about 8 o'clock and we're ready to roll. I'm very tempted next trip to bring a whole bunch of trash bags, and every time I camp I could pick everything up and at least leave it in a bag, although that wouldn't make any difference because nobody else would pick it up. Yeah, anyway, right next to the gate is where I was sleeping, so just enough that I didn't hear the road noise too bad. It was like, it was right there, but that little lip berm helped. So, all right. Clouds are coming in, but they're moving fast, so it's in and out. I'm up to 49 volts, 48.9 now, but it's better than it was. So the sooner we get up, the sooner we can coast down the other side. Go, 8 o'clock. All right, halfway up the hill, optimistically halfway up. Pretty good grind. We just passed the marker. It says 2,000 feet, and I'm pretty sure the summit is about 3,000. So we're getting there. Worst case, I just walk it, but I think we're doing okay. That would have been a spot I could pull off because it looks like that little road goes behind that berm. So this road has a lot of these turnoffs in addition to the passing lane, and I got actually a decent shoulder, so that's nice. That was my one concern. If I got halfway up the hill, would I have a spot that I could pull off and camp?
You know, you never know. So in this case, yes, I could have gotten up to here, and that would have been a good spot back there. Yeah, you never know. I'd say it's a good grind if it's slowing down the logging trucks, right? I think we're about a half a mile from the top or so. View looks nice. That's the only blue I see though. Pretty dark. But once I clear the top, we're gonna be looking pretty good for the next 20 miles, so just gotta make it. Okay, now we're at the top. Literally 2 hours to get up. Wow. Obviously walking is slow. Little bits of blue ahead. There's the sun, just right on the edge of a great big cloud. Oh well. Should be easier now. Alright, almost, or a little after 11 o'clock. Got 45 volts. We finally, oh, another little cloud. Getting some sun finally. It's been cold. I put my sweatshirt on when I get to the top of the hill. Coming down, I was just freezing. Yeah, okay, so we got another 8.5 miles to Weaverville, and then we get on Highway 3 and start heading north towards Mount Shasta area. I don't know, I'm torn on this. Yeah. The goal was to get out of the hills, and the next couple hundred miles are going to be serious hills again, and then get into Shasta. That's going to be a mountain, 5,000 feet. So, and well, and the other thing is, like, I had a forecast from a couple days ago that said partly cloudy for the next 4 or 5 days, right? But what I don't know is what the forecast is here. You know, that was 4-day forecast for Redding. Well, I'm 30 miles from Redding now. So I don't know how accurate that forecast was going to be for, you know, the surrounding area. Anyway, trying to hang on to my last little bit of water until I get to Weaverville. I should be able to fill up again there, or get another gallon. I sure don't want to carry 2 gallons right now. That's just too much weight. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to stop, sit a spell. Yesterday at the lake I was really hot and the water felt incredibly good. Today I'm wearing my sweatshirt and I'm freezing. I'm like, no, I am not going in the water today. I'm not interested at all. Yeah, it sure looks nice though. I was looking at the sign back there, a bunch of BLM signs and posters and rules and regulations. Apparently, gold panning is legal, and you don't need any kind of permit or anything. So you could sit here and gold pan, or they had 3 or 4 operations that were allowed. I think a sluice box is okay as long as you didn't stir up the river. So if you were, the idea of a sluice box is you shovel gravel into it and then you pour water through it, and the water washes the gravel through, and the gold is supposed to stay in the box. Part of that would introduce a lot of sediment back into the river, but if you could prevent that, then you'd be okay. So I thought that was interesting. There's got to be gold left here. They got easy stuff was picked out in the 1840s, but it'd be a fun hobby. You wouldn't make any money doing it probably. I mean, you could, but it's one of those things you could easily spend thousands of dollars for the gear. There's actually a lot more water here than I expected. This is running pretty good. Yeah, this is nice. Maybe I'll just sit a spell here because the bike is just not getting much of a charge at all right now. So. California rest stop. I wasn't expecting to see one on a secondary highway like this. Over in that corner there's two car charging stations. Kind of cool. I think they're free. I was more excited about seeing this though, because I was just about out of water. There's the next town coming up in about 6 miles. I was going to buy some more water, but now I don't have to. That's cool. Butterfly. Just stopped off here to get a hamburger. Wherever here is, I'll figure it out in a minute. Looked across the parking lot, and those what we're seeing there is a pile of lumber at a sawmill, and the top ones are all burnt. That's the ones out of the forest fire from a couple years ago. They've been pulling it out. When I was at Whiskey Town Lake Park, there was a sign up that was saying that they'd cut 11,000 trees, I think. I'm having a hard time picturing how big that would be, but they just had a bunch of standing dead trees after the fire, so they cut them all down, and a bunch of them got hauled out. So it looks like they're able to reuse some of it, which is kind of cool. Anyway, tummy full of hamburger, ready to roll. That's a whole lot of burnt wood. Pretty cool. Oh yeah, we're in Weaverville. I completely forgot where I was at. And we're getting ready to head north on Highway 3. Alright, it's about 3:30. I just left Weaverville. Honestly, I should probably try to push it a little further, but one forecast had 30% chance of thunderstorms tonight. I'm like, oh, really? So the one thing that reminds me is my piece of plastic that I used to keep the sleeping bag from getting completely soaked is underneath everything on the trailer right now. So I thought, well, you know, maybe that would be a good thing to dig it out. And at the moment I've got sun. Oh, bright light. So I was like, okay, if I stop early, so 3:30 is a little bit sooner than normal, but I'm not going to get 4 hours of sun with the trees like this. We're in National Parks Forest Land, National Forest Land. There was another driveway just up the way. I started going down, and then I realized there's a power line and probably cable TV going into that one. So I'm like, that one's probably privately owned. And then I saw this, and I'm like, okay, it was an access road, but I can't say it's ever been driven on in the last 20 years. You know, and it only goes to there, so it's like, all right. I think there might be a road through the trees on the other side, but nothing on this side. So I'm like, yeah, we'll take it. So I'm going to stay in the sun at least until the sun goes behind the trees. I might move a little further in there for a little more cover, but right now I got to get a charge. You got a couple days of potential cloudy and rainy and yucky, and then it's supposed to clear up after that. But if I do 40 or 50 miles a day, by the third day of my 10-day forecast, I'm in a completely different area. So can't really count on that too much. But right now I just came up to about 48 volts. 53 would be full. This morning I left with 48 volts, and I was dead by the time I got to the top of that hill. I only did 25 miles today, but it was a pretty good climb, and no solar at all, virtually. It was just terrible solar. So a little bit I was tired, you know, so I was working it kind of hard, and I really didn't feel like I wanted to work that hard.
And a lot of stops just trying to get some charge back in the battery, because if I pull the batteries down too hard I could hurt them, so I don't want to do that. And if I pull me down too hard I get hurt, and I don't want to do that either. So between the two of us, neither one of us are doing really good on a cloudy day. So yeah, anyway, and I've got a couple nice rocks I can sit on, so that's kind of nice. Maybe I'll check those out. I haven't talked about this guy like very much at all. There was a few guys I met on the trip. One guy's name was Richard. He's the guy that I really was looking at his setup, and I want to copy what he did a lot more on the next year. I mean, obviously he wasn't solar bike, but he had a pretty good tour bike, but it was more of an off-road bike, you know, so it wasn't like a road racer bike. He had not quite fat tires. Fat tires are usually 4 inches wide. He was probably less than 3, but they were definitely off-road looking, nice wide knobby tires, and a pretty beefy looking frame. But he had gear mounted on the forks, and he had panniers and cargo racks and everything, so the bike was pretty well set up. So I would definitely think about what he was doing. But the other guy, actually met him at the same campsite, and I don't remember his name. It was like one guy left and the other guy came in. I can't remember which one was first. I think Richard was first. Richard was the guy I thought I would never see again, and then I kept catching up to him because he'd take a side trip, or he managed to run into a car. Not the car, you know, the car didn't hit him. He actually hit the car, you know. And so then it was a saga of getting to the hospital and then getting out of the hospital and then figuring out where the sheriffs put his bike, because I guess they picked up the bike for him. And it took him a while to find the bike and then to get to the bike, and, you know, then he's kind of dinged up. Anyway, so the other guy, and I don't remember his name, but he was like an older guy, you know, I mean, like, I'm 50s, so this guy was probably in his 60s or so. And he comes rolling into camp, and simple backpack, a little bit of gear, nothing too fancy. And he sets up camp, and we get to talking. And what he was doing, he was taking city buses from one city to the next. Like, basically, I'm trying to decide, along the coast, this was down north of San Luis Obispo is where I got to the coast. It was right after I bought the new bike. So somewhere in that area, Hearst Castle area, there was a campsite there. I can never remember the name of it. Anyway, it's there. So what he was doing, he was going from hike and bike to hike and bike, and I think he would ride a little bit of it, and then he would just get on a lot of the city buses have a bus rack on the front, and so he would ride as far as it would go, and then get off, and then jump on his bike and pedal for 20 miles or whatever, and then get to the next bus. It took me a while to figure out what he was talking about, because I'm like, wait, what? You know, so then a while later I happened to see him further up the road, and he had just gotten off of a bus, and he was doing little tours everywhere he went, and, you know, so he toured Hearst Castle, I think, or something. So he didn't actually ride the entire trip. He took the bus, and then he just rode his bike when he wanted to, or you know, between buses or something. And I'm like, you know what, that's actually kind of clever. So I might think about that later in one way or another. I just thought that was kind of funny, though, because what reminded me of it is along here, 20 miles back, I started seeing buses that came into Weaverville, right? And I'm like, you know, that would be kind of clever. Now, obviously, with the trailer, I couldn't do it, but if I could have a bike set up pretty simply, and I don't think I could do it with solar at all. So you'd have to figure that out. But if you started, you know, looking at where each town was and how far their bikes, or how far the buses went, it might be a fun idea. I don't know. It's kind of a clever twist. The other idea was what Ryan was saying. Ryan was the guy I bought some of my parts from on the Sun trip. He was planning on taking Amtrak all the way from North Carolina. So he was going to have to put the bikes, oops, get the shade right here. He was going to break down the trike, put it in a bike box, which you can, apparently these boxes, I mean, this is what he did, is you can put your bike in like a box that it would have shipped in, and you can take it on the airplane, you know, they just put it on like baggage, right? And you hope it's not too banged up when they, you know, bring it off the plane again. But I mean, it costs a lot, but at least you can do it. So then when you get to where you're going, you take the box apart and put the bike back together and ride away, you know. But apparently you can do the same thing with Amtrak. And so that was his plan, was to come all the way across on Amtrak and then put the bike back together when he got here. So yeah, if you could use mass transit for parts of the country, it would just get you a little further without having to work so hard. Yeah, anyway. I think what I'm really getting into right now is when everything works, like if I have a relatively not too crazy road and good sun, I can pull this stupid heavy load around and not feel too bad about it. On days like today where I've got less than perfect sun and lots of up and down again, then you really feel the struggle. And I keep trying to leave super early in the morning, and you just don't have the sun to do it. And today I never did really have the sun. Now, ironically, in the afternoon, it's clearing up, so now I've got the sun. So I should be able to have a good full charge for tomorrow. But yeah, it's like, I know why I'm too heavy. You know, I have the first batteries I left home with. I've got the batteries that the other sun trippers got for me. Plus there were some batteries that didn't seem like they were going to work, so I got them for free, kind of thing. So I've got essentially 3 times as much batteries as I should have, plus all the tools. So it's a lot of weight, and I'm only using 1/3 of those batteries. The other, you know, the other ones are one set. I don't really want to hook it up yet until I can test it without burning the bike down. And the first set still worked, but it didn't have enough capacity for what I'm doing. So, and it's like, you know, they're worth money. They're probably worth, well, the Harbor Freight batteries, I got $300 invested in those, so I'm not going to just throw those away. Shipping lithium batteries is kind of a questionable thing, and since I modified them, I sure don't feel comfortable putting them on, you know, postal and then having them catch on fire. So that would be bad. Yeah, it's kind of a thing. So the more I think about it, though, I really like the idea of setting up, because the bike itself is really comfortable to ride, you know, aside from, well, no, it is really comfortable. I was going to say, well, leaning forward is hard on your arms, but I think if it's a smooth ride, I don't notice it as much as when I started hitting a bunch of tar strips. There were some roads were just agony. Like I went about a week without my arms hurting, and I could sleep again, and then this shoulder started bothering me yesterday again from tar strips. So, yeah, what are you going to do, right? But one thought, if I thought about the Richard guy, he was running bigger tires, and he was just pedaling. He wasn't doing any electrics. But my bike came with bigger tires, so if I switched back to those and put the big motor on, then I wouldn't, you know, I would have enough power, so I wouldn't care if they had really low rolling resistance. And what that would give me, okay, so bigger tires on the bike, and then just have a very lightweight trailer that just had solar panels and basically nothing else. It's kind of what I'm thinking. Bike just rode by on the road. I'm not very far from the road, but anyway. Yeah, so that just kind of reminded me when I was thinking about what, that was something that he had said was, you know, with a bike like that, if you saw a trail like this one I just came down, you could just zip on down and check it out, you know. And if I didn't have the big wide trailer, if I went back closer to the first trailer that I made, the one-wheel trailer, you could zip down a little bumpy road and miss most of the bumps, and it would be okay. So the more I think about it, if I moved more load to the bike and got rid of most of the load on the trailer, it'd be a lot more nimble. Because the bike itself, I mean, I'm used to riding a 400-pound motorcycle, and if you had enough power in the motor, you could flick it around and, you know, it'd be all right. So, yeah. it's got some advantages to it. So the rest is in the details, I guess. I was having a crabby day today, and I think it was just, the frustration of knowing I could have made it a lot easier, except I didn't have the sun. And I'm like, well, you can't have sunny days every day. It's, this isn't Texas, I'm so spoiled where I live. I've got 300 days of sun in a year, and even on the cloudy days, you get some sun almost always. So I just got to get over that. But I'm in just a fantastic place. I mean, this is just beautiful out here. This is great. So I just kind of, a couple times, I'm like, okay, just settle down, grind it out, enjoy the view. I think what I'm realizing though is I've come to rely on the motor a lot more, because with the load I've got, I really can't pedal it. If it was dead level, I can cruise along about 8 miles an hour. But if it's any kind of a hill at all, I really can't pedal it without kicking in the motor. So if I could mount the batteries on the bike frame, that would reduce my weight considerably. So, it would still, the bike would be heavy, but one of the things I'm noticing is how heavy the trailer is. Sometimes, like if I go off into the gravel to stop or something like that, I really feel how heavy the trailer is. So if I could flip things, so maybe that's the way to look at it, is see what I can do about mounting cargo onto the bike with using, because it's got little inserts in it that you can mount things to. I just kind of think they aren't made for 40 pounds of cargo. I'd probably rip them out, and I'd really be sad. Shut up and enjoy the beautiful day, I guess. Anyway, as always, thanks for all the support. Kind of fun bringing you guys along. I'm going to start thinking about shelter and what can I do in case it does rain. And yeah, that'd be that. From here, it's about 100 miles to Eureka, which is not Eureka on the coast. There's a Y-R-E-K-A that is, I think it's basically where Highway 3 meets Interstate 5. So it's about 100 miles from here. I should be able to do that in 2 days, especially if I get a decent charge. If not, it'll be 3 days. Today I only did about 25 miles, so I should do better than that. Just chill out and enjoy the view. Yeah. All right, that's it. Bye for now.